All right, welcome back to another episode on What the Sheet. And in today's episode, we are going to be upgrading my charging station for my drills. So, um, when I bought the Metabo and the Master Force drills, that added two more chargers to my collection here. So, what I want to do is have all five of these chargers up on my charging station, and then also add some extra spots for me to hang my drills as well. So that means I need to take the old charging station down, and we're going to reuse the PVC pipe that I used for the drill storage, and I still have some left over from when I first made this. And then I'm not going to use this 1/2 inch OSB. I'm actually going to use the 3/4 inch plywood there, just because it's a little bit bigger, a little bit more sturdy. So we'll get a little bit more life out of it, and it'll be a little bit easier to assemble. Because with this, all I did was put screws in the side and then screw this to the wall. I also bought a power strip that'll be dedicated specifically for the charging station. So this will go on the side, and then all of these different battery chargers will get plugged into here, and then the single cord that comes from this will go to the wall outlet. So for this, what we got to do is get our general measurements, basically, of how wide the chargers are going to be, because that's probably going to be the determining factor of how wide it's going to be itself. And then I got to add, I think I'm going to add two more PVC chunks for drills. I don't think I'm missing any drills right now, because I think everything's up there. So we'll just add two more, or maybe three if we can fit it, and then we'll have storage space extra for any other tools I might add in the future. So I'm going to get that taken down, get my measurements for this, and then I'll come back once I get all my pieces cut and assembled, or get everything cut and then get ready to assemble it. Because as you can see, it's not a super complicated project, but I'll show you how I do the PVC cutouts and how I'm going to assemble the actual shelving itself. So I'll come back once I'm ready to get to that stage. All right, so I got all of my chargers lined up here, and basically the whole shelf or storage unit is going to be about 3 feet wide. And there are a few ways I could mount these chargers. I could have them mounted up, vertically like this, and then I'm beside the batteries and like that way. However, the main reason I have all the chargers facing this way is so all the cords, the power cords, come out the backside. So the Milwaukee chargers actually sit backwards, which I'm not really sure why Milwaukee has the power cord coming out the front side, but whatever, that's the way they designed it. And then the other issue I have is this Metabo charger. It doesn't have any mounting screws or mounting holes on the bottom. So like if you look at the Ryobi charger, they have built-in mounting screw slots for it, so it can be mounted to a wall or to a base. So for this one, I think what I'm going to do is I'll just find a little piece of 1x2 that I've got laying around, and I'll just cut a small piece to kind of bridge this gap here, and then I'll run some screws in, and I'll just kind of clamp it down that way. And I'll still have access to the power button here, which runs the USB charging port, which is on the backside, so I probably won't even get to that, so I guess it's not the end of the world. But everything else has a mounting point on the backside, so that works fine. So this will be 3 feet wide. The top shelf is about 10 inches or so. So I'll have to cut from the big sheet of plywood there. This strip of plywood is 3/4, and it's only like 7.5 inches wide. And this will be used for my battery storage shelf. So just like in the old storage unit or drill holder I had top row chargers, and then underneath that I had basically a little shelf where I could store my batteries that were charged. And then, if I'm swapping out bits, I can throw a bit up there and then grab another bit down. And it's going to be kind of the same process. And underneath, I'll have my PVC drill holders underneath, and then I'll have to make a few more to fill in that space here. So now that we got kind of the general idea of how big this thing needs to be, all I gotta do is cut a few strips out of the big sheet of plywood, and I might have enough scraps of 3/4 smaller pieces like that piece right there that I can use for the sides to screw into, and then I just got to trim that down to fit in the inside dimension. So it shouldn't take me too long to kind of get everything pieced together, and we're going to do pocket holes to assemble this to keep it simple. And then once it's assembled, the shell's assembled, and like I said, I'll show you how I cut out the PVC and notch it, everything, so you can put your drill in there, no problem. So I'll be right back once we get the actual shell or casing, housing, bracket, thing-mabobby-dooity hickey assembled, and then we'll be right back. All right, so I got the shelf all assembled. Its total width is 3 feet wide, and it's about 16.5 inches deep. And then, or is it 16? No, I don't think it's that deep. It's 10 inches deep, and then it's 16.5 inches tall. And then this top shelf is 9 inches, so that gives me enough space for the Ryobi charger, which is the biggest charger I have, which is about 7.5 inches long. And then it gives me enough space on the backside here to kind of run all the wires and kind of keep everything neat, and then everything will come off, drape on this side, and go into the charger. And then this space it's like 3 or 4 inches, and this is just where all the batteries are going to be stored. And then I cut some extra sections of the PVC, so we're going to be able to get 3 more drills hung up on here if I add to my collection. And I'm just going to kind of show you quick how I cut these out with my jigsaw. So I guess there's kind of a few ways you can do this. You could either do it with a handsaw, so I could use get my hand out of the way here. So I could use one of my Japanese saws, and I could just go by hand and just, cut it. This will cut it no problem. Or the way I like to do it, or the way I did it the first time, was just use a jigsaw, and then just kind of go through at an angle, cut one side, and then just kind of eyeball it. And you want about a 2-inch gap in between. That way you get enough of a gap to where you could have, or sorry, 1.5 inches. But you just want to eyeball, that distance in between here. That way you have enough room for your drill to slide in, but not be too wide that it'll be wider than the body of the drill. And it's all kind of relative to what power tools you have. So obviously some power tools are a little bit wider than others. And for me, I believe this is 3-inch PVC pipe. Let's see if I have a section that'll say. It's like 3 or 4 inch, 3-inch. Yeah, so a 3-inch pipe. That works out fine for most of your regular drills. So like your DeWalt's, Makitas, Milwaukee, Rigid, those all would work just fine in here. Some of your other power tools that have a little bit bigger body assembly on it, so like your Cobalts, and I'm trying to think if there's any other. If you have any Porter cable, I think those have a little bit bigger body, and maybe even the Craftsman cordless tools. I think the body portion up here where the motor is a little bit wider, so you might want to go up to like a 4-inch pipe. But that's kind of all dependent on what drills you have, and you just do a quick measurement before you go to the store. And like I bought I think it was like a 5-foot section of 3-inch PVC, and then you can just cut it down into 4 or 5 inch long lengths, just enough to where you can have the majority of the drill tucked in there when it's all said and done. And then once we get these notched out, what I do is I go in and I pre-drill these holes with my countersink bit, and then all it is just simply screwing it into the wood, and then you're good to go. And you don't need anything fancy. You don't need any super hardcore screws, or you don't need a lot of screws in there, just 2 to hold it in there, keep it from kind of rolling back and forth, and that's more than enough for this. So I'm going to cut these 3. I don't need this 4th one. This is just extra, so I might use this for some other project later down the road. But I'll show you quick kind of what it looks like, you know, cutting down the sides. It's not as hard as you may think. So I'll just do this with one hand, and I just got to be mindful of not taking out my my clamps here. So I got my jigsaw kind of set off to the side here, and then we're just gonna kind of chewed into my clamp there, but that's okay. And then we'll just go to the other side. Like I said, just eyeball it. You don't need to be perfect with these. Take my clamps off. And we'll use a Master Force. And that's perfect. So as you can see, with a 3-inch pipe, you get barely any clearance on the inside, which is good if you don't want it to kind of rattle around. And then that 1.5 inches, 3/4, kind of however wide that opening is, that's basically just, you want it to be just enough for where the handle portion of the drill can fit through, or even the toggles, the forward and reverse toggles, if you have them on your drill. And you just want that to be able to either slide through or completely fit up top. That way when you're putting your drill in, it just slides in easy peasy. You don't have to kind of fight with it and put it in a weird angle just to get it in. So that's all I got to do for these other 3, or I guess 2 more. And then I got to pre-drill the holes in these extra ones and get it all assembled on here. And then before I put it up on the wall, I want to get all of my chargers set up top, and all the screws that will mount everything placed. And then once I'm ready to go, I'll throw it up on the wall, put the screws in for securing it to the wall through the studs, and then it's just a matter of plugging everything in and then throwing everything back on the shelf, and then we're all done. Alright, so I'm just going to jump back in here real quick and kind of show you what might happen with your little kind of drill holders. So when I cut with the jigsaw, I get kind of these tails, or this kind of frilly bits on the edge of the PVC here. So all I'm going to do is just take some 60 grit sandpaper and just rub up and down the edge there. And that'll take off all those burrs, and then you just kind of go over the edge, and you can kind of soften it up a little bit. And then we'll do the same thing on the other side. And since it's PVC, it sands super easy, so you don't have to really get too aggressive with it. It'll come off. And it's all kind of a matter of how perfect you want it to be. For me, I don't really care all that much as long as the drills fit in there. So just a little bit of sanding, hand sanding, and that comes right off. You could use your fingers or a knife if you need to. And there is another way to make drill holders. So in the past, when I first made one of these, this is my 3rd one in this garage. So my first one I made, I actually took a sheet of, I think it was 1/2-inch plywood, and I used my jigsaw and I actually cut a little, almost like a extended U shape. So both of these is basically a straight cut here, and then at the end it was a half circle, and then it came back around. So if you're doing it that way, you're gonna get a cleaner finish. The only problem is you would probably want to use at least a 1/2-inch plywood, if not 3/4, so you have that strength, because if you think about it, in between the boards, all you have supporting the end of the drill is here, and you can do some supports kind of in between if you're worried about strength, but you got to remember that your supports have to be pretty thin, because if you have too wide of a support, you're going to have to spread out your shelving gaps there. And it's doing it that way, it doesn't take that long as long as you know what you're doing. You could always use like a small, like 1.5-inch, 2-inch hole saw to kind of do your end, and then just do straight lines into the side of that. That would work out pretty good, and you could knock out the whole shelf pretty easy, and then just pocket hole it in on the sides, and then you're done. However, I like doing it this way with the PVC, just because it kind of holds things a little bit better, I think, and it gives you that modularity. So had I done the boards, I would have to make a whole nother board shelf instead of just cutting 3 new PVC pieces to just add to this bigger cabinet here, or this bigger shelf. So that's one reason why I like this. And then, like I said, in the future, if I need to expand even more, I could either make this bigger, I could double stack it, I could do all kinds of things, because all these are individual pieces versus having that solid wood piece that I'd have to completely replace every time I want to expand, or let's say I get rid of some tools, I want to shrink back down a little bit. But that's about all I got for this part of it. So like I said, now all I have left to do is to get all my chargers mounted up here, get everything where I want them placed, and then go on the bottom side and just figure out where those holes are for the mounting screws, get everything mounted. I want to test fit everything, make sure it's all good, and then I'm going to I have zip ties, and I'm going to zip tie the extra cord length up, so that way once it's all plugged into the power splitter, I'm not going to have a whole big mess of cords hanging up here, so it'll all look somewhat neat. And then once that's all done, this will get hung up on the wall, and then we'll be good to go. So I'll get the 3 extra PVC drill holders put on, and get the screws mounted for the chargers, and then I'll kind of show you how I get everything set up on here, and then we'll make our little piece for that Metabo charger, because that one doesn't have the screw mounts on the bottom. So I'll come back to you once we got everything mounted up and ready to put it on the wall, and then we'll be done. All right, so I've got these 2 battery chargers already screwed in. I got both screws in for those ones. These ones, I don't think I'm gonna try and find a way to put anything to hold them down, just because I don't really use them all that often. Like the Master Force, I only have the 1 drill for, and the Metabo charger, the only 2 tools I have are the 1 drill and my miter saw, and that only gets charged like once a month, so it's not that big of a deal. If I have issues with it, I could always come back in the future and do something with it, but for right now, it's just going to be free floating. I'm not too worried about it. So I'm just going to kind of show you how I find that second hole to mount the charger base to. So on the bottom, if you have the option to mount it with a screw or a hanger or whatever, the way I've done it, and it seems to work out pretty good, is use that front hole to kind of get yourself a good position. So I got these screws set up because their chargers are both the same, and so I got that screw set, and then on the bottom of your charger, on all of these, it'll have a little kind of measurement piece, a little piece of plastic that's got stamped on it, inches and metric in most cases. So for this base, it's 4 inches or 120 or 102 millimeters. So all you do is you take your tape measure, and the way I do it is I'll just go right up to, so this one's 4 inches, get that 4-inch line right up with the center of the screw head, and then just go with the edge of the tape. And then you can either scribe it with the edge of your tape or use your pencil, mark a little hash, and then just go from the front of the box, and you just kind of want to eyeball what's, perpendicular to the back of the case. If you want to get super particular about it, you could take this screw out, use your straight edge or your square, come up, get your line, mark it that way. Doesn't have to be super perfect. It just kind of, it has to be close enough to kind of make it in there. So now, get my screw on there. Oops, not wrong way. And you want to make sure that you don't put the screw all the way down, because it has to fit in that channel that's underneath here. So then we look underneath, and sometimes it helps to line up the back one first, and then just kind of work your way and get that front one up. And then for this one, you got to push back, and now it's locked into place. And so it's, you know, it's not super hard. It's just one of those things where you just got to take your time a little bit. Now, don't rush it, and you'll do just fine. It's nothing complicated. And I'll grab the other charger base. Same thing, we're just going to start with the back hole, and then get the front one lined up. And I think this one's a little tight. Good. All right, so we got all of our chargers lined up, and now all we got to do is just get our cords all situated so that they're going to run all along here, and then I'll just have them drape over the side. I'm not going to bother notching this out just so the power cords can run here. And then the power strip I'll run just like so, and then the yellow part of the cord that'll run straight up and then plug into the wall outlet up there. And then all these cords will be nice and neatly plugged in here. And I'm going to run it in a similar fashion the way I had the old one ran. So the closest charger to the power strip will be as far down as I can go. So it was a 6 charging spot, so it'll be down here for this first one, and then the next one, and then the farthest, the Master Force one, will be at the very top. And then I'll have one extra plug on the bottom, which is awesome, which means if I, for whatever reason, get another charger or another battery platform in the future, I can swap out one of my Milwaukee chargers and add that new one, or I could always attach that new charger on the side here and just plug it in there, or I could just use the power strip to run something else, something small like a sander, or, you know, an extra light or something in here if I need to. But I think that's going to conclude today's video. I'm not going to show you how to hang this up. It's not anything too complicated. Just find your studs on your wall and pre-drill your holes, or preset your screws in your workpiece here, and then just run them in. And then once you get one in, then it's easy peasy lemon squeezy. All right, so here it is, all nice and done. All the chargers are running that have stuff in it, and the Metabo charger kind of just flashes when it's plugged in, not a big deal. I got everything kind of organized where the kind of in line where the charger and the drill hangs. Obviously my Milwaukee kind of takes over most of the stuff. I do have my rigid stuff. It's actually underneath in the rigid tub. I might pull it out one of these days and kind of show you guys what's going on. But as you can see, I got 2 extra spots, so maybe one day I'll get a Ryobi drill. I'm looking at maybe buying their either the 3/8 or their 1/2-inch impact gun, just for working on like my truck or anything else around here, just because it's cheaper than the Milwaukee. And there's I just saw a video on it recently, and it's actually just as powerful as Milwaukee, so might be a good upgrade. And that might fit here. If anything, I can hang it upside down like this, so I'll still be able to use this for that, which would be nice. And I'll have to find something that I could put there, but works good. I got plenty of space for getting some more batteries. Might get, you know, some more Master Force batteries, more Metabo batteries. I've got a couple more Ryobi batteries laying around in tools. And then, as you can see on the side here, the cords all went in nice. I did end up notching that out just to make it a little bit cleaner. And then this cord, I'm just going to kind of leave it as is, just in case I need to move this around, or I want to plug that in somewhere else. But all in all, went good. I like it. It's a lot nicer, a lot cleaner than the other one that I had because it's made out of actual plywood instead of OSB. So, yeah, I think that'll conclude this video. And if you guys have any questions, go ahead, drop them in the comments down below. Or if you want me to make something else or have any ideas for any projects that I could do in my garage here, just let me know, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.